Hello everybody. First of all, let me thank all my subscribers. My goodness, it's nearly doubled since I started. Thank you very much. I hope I won't disappoint you. And today I want to explore a subject of divinity and divine, and what is divine, and what's the difference between divine and, say, a spirituality, numinosum, God's nature, archetypes of goddesses and gods. Since in our New Age discoveries, we have lots and lots of workshops, shamanic work, meditation, and maybe we are pushed, as we are addictive in nature, most of us, to achieve this divine illumination in seconds. So I want to explore a bit with you what it actually means to me. In ancient Vedas, they always stress that the man's nature is divine. And we are here, and a man is here on this earth to find out his divine nature, to discover, to develop, to be in touch. So at the end, he can love consciously. In Sanskrit, they believe that there are three forms of love: an instinctual love, emotional love, and conscious love. And that conscious divine love equals godly love, what in our Christian culture would be a Christ consciousness. So this is what, for me, divinity means. And it is not only about Mother Earth and divine archetype goddesses and, awakening of Mother Earth, which everybody encourages us, particularly through meditation. That's all very nice, how we can shed our patterns, the patriarchal patterns, which also allow us to achieve a lot and become all divine. Well, it's not that easy, let me tell you. So, most of religious, whether West or East, agree on that divinity, but above all they talk about gods, or God, and divine. Whereas I'm going to talk to you about divinity of our nature. What is then, therefore, that journey? Quantum physics are now helping us to see it, because we're at the moment exploring the nature of consciousness, the nature of divine. So for me, the divine is the encounter with numinosum. What is numinosum? Numinosum is that what very often we call a light. What we do nowadays, we project the numinosum, the divinity, upon dead things. Men very often, pay attention, for instance, that men talk about their beloved cars as if they were beloved women. Very often men talk about cars as if it was she. Isn't she just gorgeous? And you think, wait a minute, where is the woman standing next to Porsche? Not next to the Alma or Maserati. No, they're talking about a car. So very often, or we can give numinosum a money. Most of the time, especially when I was working in Harley Street, men would come and they will touch the money. They will have this. They would like to have lots of money. Money, mother, kind of Mother Earth, security, divinity. And they liked, I asked many men why they carry so much knots in their pocket. Their answer most of the time was, it makes me feel safe. Well, this is the projection of our divinity or divine or numinosum upon dead things, as I say. That could be a job, that could be a profession, that could be a money, that could be marriage, that could be beauty. And isn't she divinely gorgeous? We use these words quite lightly, and we don't pay attention to what they actually mean, as we live in times when words are not respected. And that is probably one of the words which is incredibly disrespected. So in relationship, very often we women project the numinosum onto poor guys who, of course, don't know what the hell is going on, unless they are very narcissistic and very much pleased with themselves, because they're shame-based people. So we make altars out of them. Every time we make altars out of the divine or project the divine upon such a thing, we are really crazy, because no man can match God, and they are having much more difficulties in getting to the divine than the women. So we must, absolutely must, comprehend what it means to encounter numinosum. Often we can talk about wise men and wise women internally in our dreams. As you know, in many cultures, anthropologists will tell you that the societies guided themselves through the wise dreams. The shamans would go into trance and they will tell the societies what the wise men would say. They encountered divinity in themselves, of course, and universal archetypal divinity of humanity. And they were very respected, those guys, you see. Nobody questions them. Well, I dare say that for most of the time, maybe not these days, if a woman or a man would come and say to the psychiatrist, I have encountered divinity, and the psychiatrist safely would lock him up in Maudsley Hospital or other hospital, considering that he probably is dropping into psychosis. So it was scary. The woman, who had maybe connection to divinity, Cassandra comes into my name, into my head, would be considered mad, yeah? Cassandra begged and begged and begged Greeks to listen to her. But of course, she was considered a bit alternative, as we would put it in our language. But what was she? She was intuitively in tune with her divine feminine nature. So the man, this sort of spiritual and emotional pregnancy would be about divinity. To be pregnant, to be potent. Divinity means utter responsibility. One of the psychiatrists once in the conference I was attending came to me as I was sharing my dream about the divine pregnancy and divine potency, and asked me, Maya, can a man be pregnant with the divine? I said, of course you can. Except that not many men ask me such a question. Men mostly derive their pleasures from external realities, hence their projection of the divinity or numinosum onto that things. Women are much more prone to the inner life, which doesn't mean that they always get it. But hopefully nowadays we could be slightly more willing to do it. Maybe divinity and wisdom kind of come together. Tolkien and Gandalf would be the wise old boy. Yeah, the Gandalf is the example in our culture now of that which could be considered the divine. And maybe we must look at literature to be inspired. At this very moment, we need to look how to get to the divinity and to the divine in ourselves, because otherwise, what would happen? Most of us considered wise before our time. We have many examples of man, child, women, child, child, women, child, men, and they're trying and attempting the relationship. Well, they aren't going to get far, because they are not allowing and not going to allow themselves a space. And what is the relationship? People who are in touch with more than their ego know that they're guardian of each other's freedom. They are guardian of each other's growth. They help one another to get to the divine. Whereas if you are immature, you will go into war of sexes, you go into power struggle, forget about divinity. So divinity, numinosum, wisdom, is connected, incredibly connected to responsibility and personal empowerment. If you are centered and if you pay your price for being in touch with the divine, you know that you will love differently. As Vedas put it, you will love like a god. In other words, you're not going to change your wife into another wife and another wife and yet another wife. And you're not going to run from your husband at every corner he is not coming home five minutes later than it needs to be. But you're going to look at it as an invitation, as I said in many other lectures and talks and videos. Divinity gives us freedom. And that means that man in his journey must seek his, what you would call it, anima, or Dante described in the Divine Comedy, Beatrice, as the inner friend, as an inner companion. Whereas the woman must develop her animus. In other words, maybe she needs to be slightly more less hysterical, less emotional, and probably developed a much more logical approach to life if it's necessary, because otherwise you can have a complete confusion, and at the same time you have tremendous amount of sorrow inflicted upon one another. For the man, being in touch with the anima, being in touch with his divine, means that he's going to be more open. He's probably going to be more patient. He's going to be more willing to look at life from the angle which, because men by nature are more angry and more impatient, which will demand or give him slightly more space. Jung called this process to divinity, towards higher self, towards inner women wisdom and inner man's wisdom, the process of individuation. Individuation means that I am never standing still, I need to grow. Women have to learn objectivity, men have to be more in here and now and not always projecting their energy into yet another goal. Men who are undeveloped and not connected, never satisfied, and that is what in our language it's called compulsive achieving. Before the woman would say, oh, let's celebrate. No, darling, I have to make another million. Well, I used to ask men, is 5 million not enough? No, Madam Parker, 5 million is not enough. If I have 20, I'll be happy. I said, like hell you won't be, because there will be many guys who have more than 20 millions. And by that time, your children will be grown up and they will not know you. So it is invitation through the divine for men is to value relationship for the sake of relationship, not value money or value goal for the sake of goal. So we must be prepared. We must be prepared for crisis. We must integrate crisis. We must integrate wisdom from crisis. If we're not in touch with the divine and numinosum, which comes to us very often in our dreams, as the dreams, as I always say, carry the divine, carry the truth, so we can have a sort of Holy Spirit working through them. We have to take risk. A man must learn to do that. Nowadays, I think we live in times, in one way, of resurrection of the divine, but another, we need to accept that there was a death of the divine. Leo Tolstoy once said that the real change, the real relationship with the divine is possible only inside us. And he's we used to write that he's very surprised why people perpetually study and pay attention how to change everybody else except themselves. And that is because of the fear. Divinity means you're never afraid. Divinity means you are straight as a fiddle. Divinity means you clarity of thinking. Divinity means that you are delighted in reality, however painful it is, however sorrowful. This is the divine energy and the divine parts of us which gives us strength to live in a more straight way, and more a way which knocks about being special and just gives us opportunity to just be more authentic and live more meaningful life. Otherwise, often we mix truth with lies, lies with truth. We are avoiding reality and a responsibility like plague. So without that relationship to the divine, which gives us this incredible power and empowerment, we are not doing very well. That also gives us a chance to look at the friends and see whether the friends are really real or not. What are the friends? If we're traumatized, we won't be able to recognize that. We look at today's, where is the divine or numinosum? Adverts lie to us, people lie to us, governments lie to us. Divine reality equals truth. Isn't that interesting? That truth absolutely is connected to the divine. We lie easily. Otherwise, we don't have that kind of freedom. Divine connection gives us the freedom. In that kind of freedom, we have ability to live our truth and not bother to lie. The divine gives us courage. Jung writes, a man of words, and in this word, it's destructive. And the world needs now to renew through divine. That is the mark of our age. Divine, above all, gives us a base for more creative life. Gives us a freedom to relieve the energy which we will be, for instance, wasting by keeping our lies or keeping the lid on our emotions. And that creative energy will give us absolute space to do what we need to do in life. So we need to remember that divine is part of our nature, and it's the base for much more gracious and elegant living. Goethe once said, perfection is norm of a heaven. Willingness to be perfect is norm of a man. So let me just read you a little poem, an Irish poem, an Irish praying before we say serenity prayer, which is a lovely blessing connected to the soul and divine. May the light of your soul guide you. May the light of your soul bless the work you do with the secret love and warmth of your heart. May you see in what you do the beauty of your own soul. May the sacredness of your work brings healing, light and renewal to those who work with you and those who see and receive your work. May your work never weary you. May it release within you wellspring of refreshment, inspiration and excitement. May you be present in what you do. May you never become lost in the blunt absences. May the day never burden. May dawn find you awake and alert, approaching your new day with dreams, possibilities and promises. May evening find you gracious and fulfilled. May you go into the night blessed, sheltered and protected. May your soul calm, console and renew you. May the divine in you bless you for a new creative day always. Let's say serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.